Make a date with Reverend Dr. Ebenezer Markwei at 6 a.m. from Monday to Saturday on Graphic Online via Facebook and YouTube as he expounds on matters of faith. Graphic Online, truth and accuracy every day.
This is Reverend Dr. Ebenezer Markwei of Living Streams International, bringing you matters of faith with Graphic Online. I'd like to title my sermonette this morning with Brook-side lessons. That is, lessons from the brook, the sides of the brook. You know, in 1 Kings chapter 17, there's one person whose life really fascinates me, and his name is Elijah. I've been fascinated by this man even before I gave my life to Christ. I mean, his story was amazing for me. And in 1 Kings chapter 17, from verse 1 to 7, you find a very interesting thing. Now, the Bible introduces him on the stage, and Elijah the Tishbite, boom, he was there. And then he prophesies that there will be no rain and all that thing until by his word, because of the perfidy of Ahab, and because of the treachery of Ahab and his wife Jezebel, and all the things that they were doing that was wrong. That was Elijah. Elijah is a man of action. I really like him, and he's a very interesting figure for me. But there's a transaction that goes on from verse 3 to verse 7 that is really interesting. Now, after he had prophesied, then God says to him, now you go and hide yourself by the brook called Cherith. By the brook called Cherith. And God then tells Elijah, hide thyself. He had prophesied, and there's going to be no rain. And for sure, there was no rain. And God then tells Elijah, for 3.5 years, hide yourself by the brook Cherith. I mean, that's for 3.5 years, there was no rain. And God then tells Elijah, go and hide thyself by the brook called Cherith. Now, I am very interested. And why would God ask him to hide? That's number one. That's a question we'll deal with later. But at the Brook-side Cherith, God begins to feed Elijah by ravens. Ravens, one of the selfish birds that we know about. I mean, God began to feed the ravens were bringing morsels of meat and morsels of food on a daily basis at the Brook-side Cherith. And even though there was famine and there was no water, there was shortness of water, Elijah was consistently drinking by the brook called Cherith. So this is a typical example that the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters and restores my soul. You know, this is a very typical example. Elijah is being refreshed by the cool waters of the brook Cherith, and he's being fed by ravens. Then all of a sudden, trouble don't come now. Wahala don't come to Cherith. And what was the wahala? What's the trouble? Very simple. The brook dried up. The brook dried up. So now discomfort comes, and the ravens stopped coming. And that was when God said to him, it is not time for you to move on. Now, I'm very interested in what's going on over there. God brought him to that place, and at that place, God was teaching him two principles. And the first principle was utmost dependence upon God. That means God will by all means find a way to look after you. See, his eye is on the sparrow, and so his eyes will be on you. The birds of the air, they neither think about what they're going to eat or what they're going to drink. And one way or the other, God finds a way to feed them. You know, the beasts of the field, God finds a way to feed them. How much more us? Total dependence upon God. When we don't even have, we should look up to the heavens and say, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. In the midst of famine, in the midst of drudgery, in the midst of panic, in the midst of pandemonium, one way or the other, God will find a way to supply. He will supply grace, and he will supply our livelihood. He will find a way to do it. I know it. I know this beyond every shadow of doubt. Because I know what it is to stare hunger in the face. And one way or the other, God makes provision for us on a daily basis. And so my testimony is, or my life is littered with testimony of divine supply and divine provision. But then the second principle, God was teaching Elijah, not just that I can feed you, but I'm teaching you how to create a miracle out of nothing. how to create food out of nothing. So there's a principle. Why? Because at the end of verse 7, and from verse 8 onwards, God was going to tell Elijah, now you move to Zarephath. And at Zarephath, I'm not going to feed you this way. You are going to be the creator of the miracles. You are going to be the person to create miracles. And so you're going to use the lessons of faith that I taught you by the Brook-side Cherith. You're going to use those lessons to know that I am the God that supplies. Jehovah Jireh is my name. According to my riches, I will provide. So when you meet a woman who doesn't have, you can look at her and say, don't be afraid. I know what I'm talking about. The God I serve has been able to provide for me. He would also provide, so that you prophetically can say, the cruse of oil will not fail, neither shall the cake of bread fail, until this famine is over. And I thank God for that. What Elijah was saying, or what Elijah was learning two principles. One, total dependence upon God, and two, principles to create. That God does it, God shows you how to do it. God does it, and He doing it is showing you how you can also do it, so that you are not a child anymore, so that you are not the baby anymore. You can't keep sucking your fingers at the throne room of God for long. You have to grow up, and there are things that God will do for you. And so listen, if He can save you in water, in terms of, and put you on the Nile, and put you in a basket, and put you in a Nile, and save you, when you come to the Red Sea, He can deliver you also. So you know what God is saying? There are lessons. The miracles of yesterday are indications of something I'm about to do bigger. First time I did it, but the next time I'm teaching you how to do it. So you would have to do it. Brook-side lessons. You can learn it or keep going around in circles. Because if you don't qualify for class 2, you repeat class 1. So sometimes you need to qualify. Brook-side lessons. See you later.